Welcome to House Education, Dr. Tromp.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you so much for the opportunity to appear today. I'm Marlene Tromp, president of Boise State University. My apologies for appearing before you remotely. As some of you know, I care for my 92-year-old mother, and this compels me to be especially careful about her health and safety. At Boise State, we are so proud to serve Idaho by graduating thousands of students who are prepared to lead and make an impact each year. Over half of all the graduates from all the public universities, colleges, community colleges, and technical schools in the entire state come from Boise State. These graduates start businesses, teach, deliver healthcare, and make everything from music to innovative computer technology. Next slide, please. We are proud of our history and the trailblazing spirit that has always characterized the state of Idaho and certainly characterized Boise State. This year, many institutions saw declines in both enrollment and in faculty productivity. During this time, we broke records for research funding when many others faltered. Moreover, we developed and launched innovations during the pandemic that will positively impact our students and our state for years to come. In collaboration with the system-wide efforts on cybersecurity, Boise State launched the Institute for Pervasive Cybersecurity, which is a connection and collaboration between businesses and our academic units so that we can better prepare our students to be ready to hit the ground running in cybersecurity. It's been my belief since I came to Idaho that one of the ways to support and care for our rural communities is to ensure that they have access to degree programs where they can stay in their hometown. And with access to broadband, what a cybersecurity degree allows someone to do is to stay in their community and bring clean industry and strong revenue. I believe with the asset of the INL, the state of Idaho can be a national landmark for cybersecurity. And everybody, personally, businesses, nonprofits, everybody needs access to cybersecurity. We also launched an effort called Bronco Gap Year. We recognized that our students were sometimes deferring their education during this difficult period. And so we invited them to a low-cost online program that provides them with an independent faculty mentor to help them navigate their way to college while they're at home or working for their family business or taking care of a relative. We wanted to ensure that those students who face challenges in this year and beyond didn't lose the opportunity to still advance their academic career. And this extremely low-cost program, for less than $1,200 a year, allows students to take up to 12 credit hours and get the support of that faculty mentor. We also worked collaboratively with leaders from across the nation. Boise State led an effort called Project Launchpad. There were so many universities that didn't open their doors this year all across the country, and that simply responded as if it were acceptable to let these students have a lost year. Project Launchpad was dedicated to bringing together some of the best minds in the country to figure out how we can better serve our students and our states during this difficult time. We had over 700 attendees from around the world for that event. I'm very proud also of our rural initiatives. We've been able to reach out to Payette, Mountain Home, and McCall and go into those communities and ask them, what programming do you need? What academic programming do you need? Build programs with them, and we're serving students right in those communities. And the most astounding part of this effort has not just been we're changing the lives of those students who signed up for these special programs in those 3 communities, but that we actually saw an increase in enrollment in those communities in other Boise State programs while enrollments went down in rural areas all across our country during the pandemic. We've also raised over $500,000 for our True Blue Endowed Scholarship, which is designed to support Idaho students. My dream for those students is that a student from Idaho won't have to pay to attend school. So it's been a priority of mine since I arrived to ensure that our students have access to funding to support their efforts. I also wanted to mention something that is so new and so recent that it wasn't able to appear on this slide. which is that Boise State is deeply committed to preserving our students' rights, honoring their First Amendment rights. So we are very pleased to announce a new center. We want to ensure that the full range of voices are lifted up and have space to speak on our campus. So we are launching a new center, the Center for American Thought and Advancing the American Experiment, which is designed to bring together conservative and liberal voices to speak openly and dialogue about the issues so that all of our students, regardless of their political backgrounds or their interests, feel like there's a space for them on Boise State's campus. Next slide, please. We are one of the lowest priced university educations available in the country, as you heard from President Satterlee. Boise State is also one of the most efficient. We deliver those tremendous career outcomes for a cost per student that's 42% less than the national average. And we provide tremendous ROI. We return to Idaho's economy $8 for every dollar that's invested in Boise State University. We are one of the best investments that Idaho can make. Most importantly, we are laser focused on career outcomes for our students and have built into our curriculum with a rich array of learning experiences that career education focus. So students can go on to fuel great Idaho companies and nonprofits and to start new ones. And we're very, very proud of how many living student graduates we have in the state, nearly 100,000 students who are making a mark in Idaho every day. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to stand for questions either after my colleagues have spoken or as you please, Mr. Chairman.
We do have some questions. Representative Moon.
Thank you, Chairman. Dr. Tromp, welcome. I do have a question. You just talked about these free speech zones with this new Center for American Thought. I guess my concern is why do we have free speech zones on the campus, and why aren't people able to use their constitutional right to speak freely anywhere on campus?
Dr. Tromp.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Moon, it's not a free speech zone, Representative Moon. Our whole campus is dedicated to ensuring access to free speech and to ensuring that students have those rights. And the center is an opportunity for us to really elevate that dialogue as an integral part of Boise State University, to ensure that students from all across the political spectrum feel like their voices are represented and heard, and to encourage them to engage in that important dialogue that universities should be the landscape for.
Follow up, please.
Representative Moon.
Thank you, Chairman and Dr. Trump. So I know some people from my area in Chalice that have gone to school, and they're very fearful of sometimes speaking their conservative thought and values on campus. And I do know that is there a freshman requirement or a general ed requirement that they have to take 4 social justice type courses before they can even graduate? I mean, is this the kind of thing that we now have to have students take instead of just having open thought and dialogue on campus?
Dr. Trump.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Moon, we have a university foundations requirement, 100, 200, and then the capstone course, but those are not social justice courses. There's a full range of courses that students can take, and they're topic-based, and they and their advisors have the opportunity to choose. We have thousands of course offerings that give students a huge range of opportunities, and we believe that broad range of opportunities gives students a great avenue to engage in a full range of thought. And any student who ever feels like they've not been given an opportunity to speak, we have really robust procedures on campus to ensure that those students have access to appeal or speak to our chief academic officer, our provost, through that appeals process.
Thank you. I'll save questions for later.
Representative Ehart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. President Trump, it's more of a statement just in light of some of that which had occurred on campus. I just want you to know that I am very grateful for your willingness to speak up in behalf of not just our First Amendments, but also in particular our freedom of religion. And I just want you to know that that was not lost on me, and I'm very appreciative. So I look forward to seeing and actually having a conversation on what the Center for American Thought will look like and how that will evolve. So I'm sure that's a conversation that we can have moving forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Kirby had a question.
Dr. Tromp, thank you very much. We appreciate these good things you're doing. Mine's a follow-up to both these two ladies' comments. As far as free speech, I would just like to know, in the classroom, so students are in the classroom and they take a more of a conservative approach, maybe on man's influence on global warming or whatever, creation, created by God versus evolution. I keep hearing that in the classroom it's pretty toxic when you take some view that is not what the professor personally thinks, and then you're looked down on, not appreciated. Your view isn't given equal standing in the classroom. So are you providing any direction? I appreciate your Academy of Free Speech and so forth, but I guess I'm more looking at when you're in the classroom and the discussion's going on and people challenge the professor, and that they would be given an opportunity to do that and feel like they're on some kind of a level ground in the classroom. I wonder, are you working on that area?
Dr. Tromp?
Mr. Chairman, Representative, thank you so much for that question, because it gives me the opportunity to say something that's very, very important, not just to me, but to our provost and to our faculty at large, which is that we teach students how to think, not what to think. It's very, very, very important to us that as an institution of higher education, what we're doing is providing the landscape for students to engage in those critical dialogues. We invite students to be a part of that dialogue, and that is a priority to us. And part of the reason that we have those appeal processes is to ensure that if a student ever feels like he or she has been silenced or not had the opportunity to speak, that they have a process to engage in. I had the good fortune this year of seeing my provost, Dr. Rourke, respond to a student's question on this front. And the thoroughness with which he investigated the question was so impressive to me. It really demonstrated his commitment to ensuring that our students all have voice in the classroom and out.
Vice Chairman Kirby?
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'd really appreciate hearing through the grapevine that this has been addressed with your faculty, your provost, or somebody, and then further, when I talk to students that go there, if they say, yeah, we got a little talk today in class, and we're all going to be on equal footing now, that's the kind of information I'd like to get back to find out that it really did happen, and that kids feel more comfortable with their more conservative views. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your answer.
Thank you. Representative Boyle has a question. A comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and President Trump. Some of us have been receiving, at least I assume other people have been receiving, letters and emails from parents who are quite concerned over this foundation required classes, because they are telling us that they feel like their students are being fed critical race theory, and they aren't appreciative of that at all, to be shaming them for the race that they are, which they can't help. One family said they have spent $5,000 through their various kids that have gone there for these foundation classes, and they believe it's inappropriate to focus critical race theory on mandatory classes that freshmen must take. Can you give us some information, send us what these foundation classes really are so we know the truth, please?
Yeah. Dr. Tromp?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, I'd be happy to share with you information about these courses, and I can tell you that our Chief Academic Officer and Provost is deeply and profoundly committed, as is the university, to ensuring that students have the opportunity to have that voice. And if there are concerns, those should certainly be addressed through our provost, who takes these concerns very, very seriously. And I will, he actually had a meeting with some representatives earlier this year, and he would be happy to meet with folks again to talk about those processes and to talk about those courses so that you all have the direct information. And any of those parents that have concerns, please do share those concerns with us, because we also hear from a lot of parents who feel like it's really a wonderful opportunity for them to have their students grow and learn here at Boise State and to go on to have those great careers and to make their impact in the state. So we certainly want to ensure that those parents feel respected and heard.
Okay. A follow-up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, a follow-up, President Trump. Could we see the actual curriculum of what these kids are being taught so that we are a little more at ease with this?
Yeah, Dr. Tromp?
Mr. Chairman, Representative, absolutely. In fact, I would be happy to either invite my provost to speak with you now, Mr. Chairman, if that would be appropriate, or to give you the opportunity to meet with him independently so he can go over all that material with you, and you'll have the opportunity to look at the curriculum. We're happy to send you the curriculum as well. Anything you would like, glad to do it.
You know, Dr. Trump, I don't know if we have enough time to skip over there because we still have a couple more schools, but I think the request is basically we need to find out what is this, what's going, what are these foundational programs, and what's included in the programs, and how much flexibility there is for parents to choose one course versus another. So anyway, if we can get that information, and maybe at a later date we can get another report. We have a question from Representative Shepard.
Yes, Chairman, can I ask a question as a follow-up of Representative Kirby's?
Yes, you may. You went to Dr. Trump?
To Dr. Trump,
yeah,
yes.
Yes.
So, Dr. Trump, there has been numerous reports of conservative line of thinking being frowned upon at the university. And with me, actions speak louder than words. So in the election 4 years ago, when candidate Clinton ran against candidate Trump, and Trump won that election, there was a concerted effort by the university to give grievance counseling for students that were distraught because of the outcome of that election. The university put it out there and said that these counselors are available, and you please take advantage of this as a service to the students. This year, 2020, when now President Trump lost to candidate Biden, that same service was not advertised and was not afforded students at the university. My question to you is, was that afforded to the students, and if not, how come?
Dr. Trump, and I think it wasn't the word grievance like in a grievance complaint, but grieving. Yeah, okay.
Yes, thank you for that
Thank
clarification.
You. All right. Dr. Trump?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, while I can't speak to what happened before my arrival at Boise State University a year and a half ago, what I can tell you is that this year we had a series of programs, programs for faculty and staff, programs for students that allowed people to come together before the election to talk about the tension points. In fact, we began a series under my leadership called Conviction and Conversation in Contested Times, which speaks to many of the things that those of you who've spoken about conservative voices have raised today, or what we were doing. And the first of these was with our elected leaders, and the second was with religious leaders. The impulse of that was to ensure that people understood that you could have deep convictions and still be engaged in dialogue even when temperatures ran high. And our first one featured our speaker, some of our state senators, state representative, a judge, and a mayor. And they advised students on how to engage in those dialogues. And then in the wake of that, we had an event that talked about the stressors of such a close election in a time when our nation is so divided, and how it's possible for people to talk across that gap, to speak across that gap through one another if they choose to. And then we did a series of events in the wake of the election that allowed students to gather in affinity groups and provided support for them in those affinity groups. So people who were distressed about the election outcome, people who were celebrating the election outcome. So we actually did more. We did a broader range. We provided that to all of our students. And it really is modeled on this notion that I've been talking about with you here today, that we want to lift up all those voices and ensure they all can speak. So while I can't speak to what happened before my arrival, I can tell you that we were really committed to supporting all of our students, regardless of their perspective, in the wake of this election and prior to it as well.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Who, Representative Moon?
Thank you, Chairman. Dr. Tromp, I have a follow-up more or less to your response that you gave Representative Boyle. So you said that the provost had met with some representatives, some legislators. Were any from the Education Committee involved in that meeting?
Dr. Tromp?
Not that I'm aware of. I know that Representative Corman was there. In fact, it was at her request that we hosted that meeting, but I'd be happy and honored to have our provost host one for the members of the House Education Committee, should they so wish.
All right. Well, thank you.